2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brandon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us.
Hey guys, this is Brandon, the host of the Ask Brandon Anything show. This is the show where we take the most awkward, difficult, challenging questions that are keeping you stuck in your relationships and stuck in your addictions. We break them down, we discuss them, we validate you, we give advice, and we empathize. And most importantly, we help you find truth so you can get unstuck. If you have a question, whatever it may be, go to brandonpatrick.com and submit a question there for the show. All right, guys, welcome to Ask Brandon Anything. To start, I want to read a review. I've been getting some great reviews on iTunes, and they are so important right now. So I really appreciate the people who have taken the time, taken the energy, and let me know that they're getting something good out of this. So first review I want to share is called Great Resource. It says, Brandon does a great job of diving deep into issues to help you understand what may be going on in your life. I'm so thankful to have a resource like this to help me on my path to becoming a healthier person. Thank you. Simple, yet, I just really appreciate you letting me know that I'm doing some good in the world. So I appreciate that. So speaking of doing good in the world, I have a guest today named Alex Theobald, and he is doing a lot of good in the world. He's an excellent therapist. He actually worked with my brother Tyler for a while. He's done a lot of difficult work as a therapist, I would say, specialized in addiction, worked a lot with betrayal trauma, sex addiction, things like that. So he worked as a practitioner, and then he moved on, and he is kind of trailblazing a little bit here. We need research about addiction, and we need research about sex addiction, pornography addiction, and things like that. So Alex is taking that on, and he is getting his doctorate. He's down in Texas now, and I just want to ask him questions about his research and questions about his experience. So here's Alex. Welcome, Alex. Good to have you.
Thank you, Brandon. It's a pleasure to be here. It's comforting to see you again. I guess I'm videoing in. The audience doesn't see you, but Brandon and I go way back, and Tyler, his brother, and I go way back, and so it's a pleasure to be working with the Patricks again, and Brandon especially.
I've seen you, Alex, go from kind of an awkward college student, to No, you're a man now, Alex. You've grown up. You know, you got a wife, you got a kid on the way. Like things are happening for you. You're in a doctorate program, so this is maybe you're still awkward, but
Yeah. Like I say at dinner parties, I have to be careful when people start asking about my research, because they're kind and polite, and they're like, "Well, hey, what are you interested in? What are you researching?" And betrayal trauma, infidelity, pornography use aren't the most common dinner table conversations at friends' parties, and so that's I think my nerd comes out, and that's where I have to kind of tame the beast. And
yet when you bring it up, people like, oh, and they want to sit and talk about your job over, the accountant's job or the engineer.
yeah, yeah, it's like it's a social. I don't know. It's not a faux pas, but it's like this magnet where like everybody turns their head and like, oh, you research like sex and pain, like the pains that come with infidelity and like how to heal from that. Like that's super interesting. And so
Yeah, people are interested.
yeah, I'm always like 5 questions away from a very intimate conversation.
Totally. Yes. And you never know when it's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah, and you never know.
You got to try this one, Alex. So when people ask me like, what do you do? And I total straight face, totally serious. I say, oh, I'm in the porn industry. And I just leave it at that for a second.
I've never done that.
And I just wait like that, and it computes, and they're like, whoa. Oh, and then I tell them what I actually do.
Yeah, the only thing that got close to that was my roommates were so bold that whenever we had people come over, they would, kind of like, hey, what do you study? And they would say, oh, Alex researches porn, and it's like, it's slightly different.
Yeah, how are you researching the porn here, Alex?
Yeah, how's your porn research? Anyway,
well, that's you know what, Alex? That's a perfect segue into your research. How are you researching porn? What are you doing? And just talk a little bit about your project and what you're studying and what you're looking at.
Sure. So I'll go big picture and small picture real quick.
Okay.
Big picture, one of my motives for getting a PhD was to produce solid research that essentially helped people heal from problematic sexual behaviors or problematic sexual experiences. So anywhere from problematic pornography use, which is extremely common, to healing from sexual assault or sexual traumas.
Okay.
And that's 1 in 4 females experience that, and we have I think getting data on men is a little harder, but my guess is that there's a huge population of men that have experienced sexual trauma that it's under researched.
Yes.
Their population, and so I think and then something else that's sadly common too is infidelity and healing from sexual betrayal in that regard. And
right.
So that the healing processes in each of those areas I think is really important, and not super well researched, especially with some of the trends we have around sexuality and pornography use. There's a lot of strong opinions in a lot of different ways, and diving into the research, you really have to go data based to make an argument. It's not, you can't just sit back in your opinion or your theory. As a clinician, it really pushed me to think, do I know that this works? Do I know that this intervention is what this client needs?
Yes.
Do I really understand what's happening underneath the surface? And some of those questions, we don't have answers for yet in data and in, in research. And so that's kind of the big picture. I want to help people know how to heal from.
I think a lot of people don't know that, Alex, is how new this field of at least sexual addiction treatment is.
Oh yeah.
And how we don't have outcomes. And I hate to say this, but a lot of the 10, 15 years that I've spent doing what I do in treating this, it's been shooting from the hip. It's been learning from a mentor who somewhere learned from their mentor. And we don't have the data that really backs up. Now, I think I found some things that really work, but I haven't done the research to legitimize that. And we need you, Alex. We need that data so badly. And I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too far, but there's such passionate, like opinions on both sides of sex addiction. Is sex addiction real?
Right.
Is sex addiction not real? And that battle's been raging ever since I've been in this field.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I think the only way we get that answer is through research. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Brandon. And I think I look at you and Tyler and what we were doing, when I was working with Tyler back in the day, and other great therapists, Kathy Kinghorn, who I know you work with, Kevin Skinner, Amy Andrews. I mean, all these people were
All my
really,
favorites right there, Alex.
yeah. Well, I mean, and the list goes on, right? It's a
Right.
growing field. There's so many therapists that are kind of standing up and trying to heed the call to work on this. And some of them have been in it for a long time. I mean, Sharon Harris, who we worked with up in Logan, she's been working on this for decades and is a pioneer in the field. And her expertise and experience is invaluable. But like, so one project I'm doing, and this isn't the project that we were focusing on today, but it's unfinished. But I want to research those therapists that have been doing, 10 plus years of treatment, to kind of just prick their brain about what they know and what they're seeing, because we don't even have clinical data from a therapist perspective, right? I mean, all angles need a lot of attention. So there's a lot of good people doing a lot of good work in the field, but it is young, and I want to make sure that I can provide therapists and their clients, and even the layperson that's not in therapy, some really helpful information to know how to heal and what works.
Okay, so I want you to dig in a little bit on some of your research, and specific to pornography. Just talk about what you're really looking at.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the study. Being a first-year doc student, there's only one study that I've finished so far.
Okay.
Right. So this is my round one. Disclaimer that it has yet to go through the peer review process. So there's probably revisions that will be made, and things that will
this is
be worked
raw
on.
green data. So to speak.
This is about as fresh as it comes. With that being said, I did get an A in the class where I turned this in. So
nice job, Alex.
That care about grades and that measure of success, I did. My professor did approve of this. So my one peer reviewed this and thought it was good. So just know that that's
awesome.
That's the confidence in coming in with this. But so the study I looked at, I wanted to see how negative self-perception played a role in problematic outcomes for a person that used pornography.
Okay.
So to slow that down, negative self-perception, this looks at things like, do I feel like a bad person because I looked at porn? Or is my involvement in pornography making me feel hopeless or down and empty? Or does it stress me out that I view pornography, or when I view pornography? I feel extremely guilty when I view pornography. I feel like my life's out of control. So these types of perceptions about one's life and the quality of one's life and their being are all the measures of this idea of negative self-perception. So when I say that word, or those sets of words, that is what I'm referring to.
So it's beyond just shame.
It's bigger than shame.
It's bigger than shame. It's just negative thinking about yourself in general, right? Anything in life.
Yes. Yeah. And in specifically, not just negative self-perception, like waking up in the morning, head pops off the pillow and like, man, I suck, right? It's not that totally. It's specifically negative self-perception around pornography use.
Okay. Yes.
So Like I'm a bad person because I view porn.
I'm a bad husband because I view porn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. These types of negative self-perceptions around pornography use.
Well, and
So,
Alex, what I see is people take it further is I'm a bad person because I view porn, and bad things happen to me in my life because I view porn, right? They kind of
yes.
expect the bad to happen, and then it perpetuates. And
Yeah. So yeah, you're providing a really good context to what we found in the study. And I'll get back to that in just a moment.
okay,
Yeah. It's because essentially the finding was that negative self-perception was the strongest predictor of these problematic personal outcomes. Um,
interesting.
yeah. So and like I said, like I'll put a few more variables on the table to describe what else we measured. So
Okay,
I wanted to look at negative self-perception and compare it to the obsessive compulsive use of pornography, as well as using pornography to cope with life.
okay,
So in some of these situations I saw as a clinician, there was certainly this compulsive use of pornography, and compulsivity is part of sex addiction, right? This um,
yes,
compulsivity is it's a symptom of addiction in general.
yes,
So I wanted to look at this obsessive component of pornography use and separate it from those clients who maybe self-identified as an addict, but in reality, they were using it on finals week, maybe
okay,
once a semester, or they kind of hit a rocky spot in their relationship and weren't sure that the person they were dating was interested in them, and so they'd relapse.
right.
Or they're using it to cope with stress.
When the pain got enough, it was like, hey, numb this out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. But if you were to ask them on a regular basis, how often do you think about porn? How often, do you feel out of control when you use it? Right. They would mark low on those answers.
right, right.
So that's kind of the difference between these two
The
ways of
the
using.
compulsion is daily. I need my hit.
Yeah.
It's like, they're shooting up porn, so
Yeah.
to speak. It's like, I need
Yeah.
it, I need it, I need it. Yes.
Yeah. And so I didn't use this language in the constructs because addiction is bigger than just compulsivity.
Okay.
Um, and and I don't think that an addict only uses pornography to cope, but I wanted to start to kind of draw that line right
Okay.
in the data to
Yes.
say, hey, I think there's differences in the way people use pornography, and the language we use to define that difference or describe that difference is really important, and I
Okay.
wanted data to back that up.
Okay.
So let's dive into what we found, right?
Okay.
So when I say problematic personal outcomes, I want to define that variable as well. The questions we used to look at that were things like, my involvement in pornography created problems for me in my close relationships. Viewing pornography has prevented me from advancing in my career, or it's prevented me from advancing in getting good grades or succeeding in school. I hold back in relationships due to my involvement in pornography, and my use of pornography has limited my personal development.
Okay.
So these are general questions, just like personal outcomes in life, relationally, academically, business, career-wise, and then just on a personal level, has it impacted the
Okay.
person's development? And this data comes from a data set collected by Dr. Kevin Skinner, and the number of people we measured was around 1,800.
Okay.
So
There's a lot.
big number here, right? Very strong variables. Each of these variables hold together very well. I can go into some of the stats language if you want me to, but just know that each of these variables were very strong in the questions as they work together. So the statistical measures we use to see if these constructs, the idea of negative self-perception and those questions, do they run well together? The answer is yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So we have very strong constructs statistically. And the way it turned out is the least predictive of problematic personal outcomes was using pornography to cope. And it came in at around 20%. So,
okay. So interpret that a little bit, what you just
said. So we ran a regression analysis, which I'm hoping people are not turning off your podcast now because I used the word regression. Hang with me. Okay. So essentially we used a specific analysis to predict what would happen given a certain situation. So in the case that someone is using pornography to cope, they were 20% more likely to have problematic personal outcomes than someone who was not using pornography to cope.
Oh, okay. Yes. Interesting.
Okay. Yeah. So a significant increase, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obsessive compulsive pornography use was 34% more likely than someone who is not using pornography to cope to experience problematic personal outcomes. Right?
Okay.
And then negative self-perception came in at around 40%.
Okay.
So if you want to talk about this, negative self-perception around pornography use was twice as likely to predict problematic personal outcomes use than just using pornography to cope.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a big deal.
Yes. That's a very big deal. But Alex, what I'm hearing, tell me if I'm interpreting this wrong. Pornography use in and of itself can cause problems.
Sure.
But pornography use with the negative self-perception causes a lot more problems.
Big deal. Yeah. A lot more problems.
Yeah. Somebody listening to this who, let's say they've looked at porn their whole life and they watch it with their wife and it's part of life and it was never a bad thing to them. So they don't feel shame about it or whatever.
Yeah.
And then there's the highly religious, very rigid person who sees a woman in a bikini and feels like they're a disgusting pervert, right?
Yeah.
So there's your two extremes. My thinking has always been, okay, and hang in here with me for a second, but is it the porn that's the problem, or is it the shame around the porn that's the problem? And what I'm hearing you say, and I really like that you have an actual answer because you've done this research, is pornography is a problem, but shame and negative self-perception around that pornography is like throwing massive amounts of fuel on the fire and blowing it up, right? That's kind of what you're saying, right?
Yeah. To use your fire analogy, like if you were to have, I'll use one of Tyler's favorite analogies, a dumpster fire, right? He
loves to talk about a dumpster fire.
He does. It's one of my favorite images that he evokes, right? So if you have a dumpster fire and it's sitting at a certain temperature, negative self-perception would double that temperature.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a big deal. So, and I wanted to see, the role that negative self-perception around pornography use played in problematic outcomes. What's interesting is I ran a moderation analysis. So again, please do not turn off the podcast because I'm throwing statisticians out there.
I love when you nerd out, Alex.
Thank you. I appreciate you calling me to nerd out with me. It's a ton of fun, right? I'm getting a doctorate for a reason, and it is fun to do research. So
yes,
I appreciate you humoring me. But so I wanted to look at a moderation versus a mediation analysis. So the difference between the two, like you had mentioned, you have the person that's viewed pornography their whole life. There's no shame around it. It's part of their culture. It's even part of their relationship culture or their sex relationships or sexual relationships, right? It's part of life for them, and there's no shame around it. And may that person experience some problematic outcomes, possibly, right? I like to compare it to individuals who smoke cigarettes until they're 80, right? It's like some people can smoke and drink their whole life, and
That's
They
true.
don't have the negative outcomes that some people get.
Right.
Right.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah. And why that happens, we don't totally have the answer to, right? Some people will throw it on genetics or chance or, the will of God, whatever, right?
Right.
I don't know why some people can smoke until they're 95 and have no lung cancer, and then other people die at 55, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why that is, but it happens.
Right.
And with pornography use, I think there's something similar going on, even though I can't describe it quite yet in the data. What I do know is because pornography use, because of that phenomenon, I didn't want to say pornography use automatically always causes shame.
Okay. Yes.
Right. Now, if I were to draw a causal relationship between using pornography to cope and negative self-perception, or obsessive compulsive pornography use and negative self-perception, then I would have ran a mediation analysis and I would have said, these variables, the pornography use is causing problems, but really it's explained by the negative self-perception. That's not what this study says. So it's not a causal study.
Okay.
Right? Shame exists in its own entity. And I wanted to see how shame interacted with pornography use, or how this negative self-perception interacted with pornography use. Does that
I
make
see.
sense?
Yes. Yes.
So it's not causal per se. Someone could have negative self-perception around pornography use for a variety of reasons.
Right.
But
Right.
it may not be strictly caused by the use itself.
Right.
And what's nice about this is it gives researchers or clinicians and individuals in the recovery process to give them a chance to say, like, wait, what is the story behind my negative self-perception? Where did it come from?
Right. Yes.
And I think that that's an important question to start asking, because sometimes it's not just the pornography use that caused it.
Oh,
right?
Totally. Yeah. The pornography use perpetuates it.
Sure.
But you're absolutely right. Those wounds are already there, and then they find pornography to soothe those wounds. And
Right.
When they use it, they feel bad. When they feel bad, it doubles the temperature of the dumpster fire. Right.
Right. Exactly.
So it's not causal. Okay, but Alex, I want to ask you then, and not. I guess this isn't so much about the research. This is as a clinician.
Uh-huh.
With my clients, should I be telling them, hey, when you relapse or when you use pornography, the worst thing for you to do is feel bad. Like, don't feel bad.
Oh.
Don't feel bad when you use, because then that will perpetuate this further, and I've seen addicts kind of run with that of, oh, okay, I won't feel bad. I won't feel bad when I relapse,
Right.
because do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So let's talk about language and how to talk about judgments around pornography use.
Okay.
I think what I'm hearing is, how do we make sense of a relapse? If someone's using, right, what I think my data says is not, it does not say, well, it's not that bad to actually look at porn, right? Or,
Okay.
it's okay to not feel guilty about it. It's okay to just remove all judgment around my pornography.
Just don't feel bad. It's not saying that.
It's not saying that.
Okay.
Well, let's look at some of the questions again, right? That describe negative self-perception. I feel like I'm a bad person.
Oh, very different than feeling bad.
Totally.
Yes.
Right? The question that gets the closest to what you just described is, I feel extremely guilty when I view pornography.
Mm-hmm.
But the other questions, my involvement in pornography makes me feel hopeless.
Ugh.
Right?
Yeah.
I feel down and empty due to my involvement with pornography. So there's this eternal judgment.
Yeah.
I'm a bad person. Today, yesterday, tomorrow, always. I'm a bad person. I feel like I'm a bad person.
It's almost like you feel like God is withdrawing his love, or God doesn't love you the same because you've made this mistake. And so it goes to this hopeless, overwhelming, self-loathing place.
Yeah.
That definitely is not productive in terms of, avoiding negative outcomes in your life.
Totally.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, and this is how shame operates, right? It takes a problem and it makes it, a catastrophe.
Yes.
And there are catastrophes in the world, and they need to be looked at as catastrophes and responded to as catastrophes. But your relapse or your pornography use may not be as catastrophic as you're making it out to be.
It's usually not.
It's usually not.
Yeah.
Now, the consequences of your relapse may be a big deal, right?
Yes.
Especially in relationships where you're trying to heal and you're trying to be honest and you're trying to.
Well, and it feels catastrophic to the partner.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's that trauma blows up, right?
Yep. Yeah. Again, this study does not look at the partner's experience, and that's something that I want to look at in another study that I'm running. Right? We're looking at healing from infidelity from a partner's perspective.
Right.
Anyway, so that's another study that we're trying to figure out, because there's two sides of this coin. But for the person that's using pornography, you are twice as likely to experience problematic outcomes if you think this way about yourself than you would if you were to just use pornography to cope. Now, like that's a big deal. And I'd want to be able to slow that train down. So if I'm working with a client, I might coach them to say something like, hey, can we move the language from saying I'm a bad person to, man, this choice was inconsistent with my values.
Yes. Yes.
Right. Or something along the lines of, I don't like that I did that today.
Right. Yes.
And
I'm going to own that.
Yeah. You own it. You can still own that, man, this was not consistent with the way I want to live, or man, this is really going to hurt my partner. And I'm sad that this is going to hurt my partner, and I can take their perspective for a moment and recognize that my actions hurt. None of those things are counted as negative self-perception, but they might be negative, I'm using quotation marks, in the sense that they're acknowledging pain.
Yes.
Or acknowledging difficulty or trial or something that's ineffective or something else.
Yes. You're making me think. I saw this funny meme this week. I've been looking at all the funny memes with the virus and everything.
Oh yeah.
And it was this meme. It was dominoes, and the dominoes got bigger and bigger and bigger. And at the bottom it said some guy ate a bat, and at the biggest domino was like, now I don't have any toilet paper, and just like boom, 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 And it what you're talking about kind of gets me thinking about that, where somebody looks at pornography, and they have, if they have the kind of this negative self-perception going on, the lens that goes through then turns into beliefs that I'm unlovable, my spouse is going to leave me, I'll get rejected, I'll be abandoned, I'm really bad, it's hopeless, which then turns into really becoming a poser or hiding, lying, detaching, experience all kinds of attachment issues in your relationships, which then perpetuates even more, I'm not lovable, I'm not okay, I'm bad. You want to go numb your life out even more, so you turn back to the pornography, which the cycle then just feeds itself and goes on and on.
Yeah, no, and you're hitting it right on the head. And this is some of the research we need to do, is to map out that cycle. I just connected, maybe 2 steps in that cycle.
Yes.
But I think this is actually right. If we were to draw an arrow from the problematic personal outcomes back to compulsive pornography use, right? We still have to research that.
Oh yes, Alex, get on it.
All right, yeah,
we need that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm working on it, right? But this idea that when crap happens in our life, right, are we more likely then to go back to these vices that we use to cope, or that we use in this obsessive compulsive way? And what role does our perceptions of ourself and I mean, I'm interested in measuring perception of partner, perception of God, right? Perception of social support, perception of therapeutic support. I mean, you could take perception in all sorts of ways, but I want to work with this data set only works with the individual so far,
Right,
right?
right, right.
And so to just look at that one person and say, all right, how does your perception of self impact that process? That's what we're looking at here. And it's just the first step of that process.
You know what's interesting, Alex, is what I see with my clients and my work is when somebody can actually open up and bring to light their negative self-perception, it diminishes that negative self-perception. And,
absolutely.
And so one thing I do a lot in my work is to try to get people to be more open, honest, authentic in facing their fears and their shame. And it seems to take the energy away from it so much, and that perception that it doesn't raise the temperature, so to speak.
Absolutely. I love that. And I think interventions to decrease the influence of that negative self-perception or the power of that negative self-perception in one's life, it would be really strong. And one way to do that is to help the client connect with what's real about them, right?
Yes.
And really connect to the reality. Are you a bad person because you viewed pornography?
Yes.
Right? Like let's pull that apart. Let's really understand it. One question I always liked to ask my clients is something along the lines of, where did you learn that you are a bad person because you view pornography? Right. And they might say something like, well, God commands us to not lust, and I'm sinning, and sinners are bad. Right. And we might draw the logic.
Therefore I'm bad.
And therefore I'm bad because I'm sinning. Well, and then I'd be like, well, shoot, man, I'm a bad person then too. And they'd immediately come to my defense.
Yes.
Right.
You're not a bad person.
You're not a bad person.
You're saying I'm a sinner.
I sin. I broke this sin today, that sin yesterday. I mean, you want my sins? Like, I'll show you. Right. And all of a sudden they have to wrestle with this cognitive dissonance. And I think, there's some really great thought around this idea of self-betrayal and the values we have. I don't know if you've read Bonds That Make Us Free or The Anatomy of Peace.
Yes.
Love those books. And I think Terry Warner and the Arbinger Institute gets it spot on when they talk about a lot of the problems in our lives they show up because we had a sense of what's right and we betrayed that sense.
Yes.
And then when we stay stuck in that self-betrayal, we have to make justifications. I actually think negative self-perception is a justification to stay in the box, to stay in that place of self-betrayal. And so we have to challenge ourselves and our clients and our partners, our children, to really step out of that box and accept that you are a good person that did not make a decision it was consistent with your values. And in fact, that decision hurt me in a specific way and I have to hold a boundary.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But you as a person are not bad.
Yes. Alex, you're totally speaking my language. I say all the time, don't shoot on yourself. Or don't get caught up in your stories. Like, understand what your stories are. Or your agreements that you've made in your life. You have a lot of agreements that you adhere to, but understand those things. Your perception is your perception.
Totally.
And where we really have power, I believe, as human beings to have self-compassion and love, is to be able to recognize our ego or our perceptions, understand those things, but then choose how we want to feel about what happens in our life.
Right.
So if I screw up, we're talking about pornography, if I look at pornography, to be able to say, oh, I feel guilty, I feel bad, but I'm still going to love myself. I'm going to have compassion. I'm going to accept that I chose to look at pornography, and I'm going to take accountability for that and take those consequences and still love myself. It's absolutely possible to do that. and not perpetuate the cycle of the negative self-perception.
Yeah, and I'll put I'll put my not researcher hat on for a moment and just speak as a person, so
Okay.
that the listeners can maybe hear what this looks like in real life.
Okay.
Right. So I struggled with pornography for a long time, and I'm in pretty strong recovery now.
Okay.
I always I don't want to say like I've ever arrived, right? But I would say that my recovery is pretty strong.
Okay.
And there was an experience I had in my marriage where, and I'll draw that, I'll draw an experience where I had in my marriage with an experience I had when I was a kid.
Okay.
Right. Or a young adult or much younger. So, one experience with pornography I had in my adolescence was, my mom had allowed me to stay home from school because I was sick, and I was trying my best to avoid pornography that day. I'm a religious person. I believe in God, and I believe that objectifying people is just inherently not good. I'm supposed to see them as the children of God, and pornography doesn't do that.
Right.
And so for me, it was part of my, my values to not look at pornography growing up. But I struggled with it. And in high school, there was this moment I remember feeling like I wanted to run away, like my family didn't deserve a son like me. Like I was betraying everybody that ever thought I was a good person
Talk
because
about
that day that I stayed home,
Talk about
right?
negative self-perception.
Yeah, all that negative self-perception, and it all, it boiled up to this feeling of I need to just leave and run away. I didn't ultimately end up running away, but I remember laying in my bed plotting about how do I get out of this? How do I not hurt people because of this uncontrollable force in my life, right?
And how old were you?
Oh, I was probably 16, 17.
Yeah.
I was in high school
Right
at
in the
some
middle
point.
of adolescence.
Yeah, right in the middle of adolescence. So I had a ton of negative self-perception around pornography use, right? Being married, there was an experience. I was reading some article on Vampire Weekend. I don't know if you know the band. I like them. They're fun. They're a fun band. Kind of witty lyrics. They're always a little cryptic, and they're kind of fun to try to tease out. Anyway, so I was reading this article, and on the bottom of this article was a clearly pornographic image, and I felt this pang in my chest, like, oh, like, dang it, like I'm seeing something I don't want to see.
Right.
And my wife, I'm sitting at my counter looking at this article, and my wife is sitting on the couch just to the right of me, but the screen is not facing her. And so I have this immediate feeling. This is my first interaction with pornography when being married. I mean, we're newlyweds. We're just kind of solidifying some of the foundation of our marriage, right? We're just starting out. And I thought, dang it, like this is my first experience with porn in my marriage. Like, I never wanted to bring this in here. And I immediately felt that feeling again of like, I could hide it. But because of the work I've done and the recovery I was in, and the lessons I've learned through trial and error, I knew that just being open and accountable right then with her was way better than any alternative.
It's not catastrophic to own
it's
what
not
it
catastrophic.
own
And
what
I'm
it
not a
is.
bad person.
Absolutely.
And so I closed the screen, or closed the window, then closed the screen. And I was like, hey, Ash, I just want you to know, I just saw a pornographic image. I was on this website. I was looking for this, and I found this. And I want you to know that I saw that. And Ashley immediately called me over, and she's had me sit next to her, and she wrapped her arms around me, and she goes, how are you feeling? Right.
Well, she gave you some love.
Yeah. And she's like, where are you at? Right.
Yeah.
Cause she knew that was a problem for me in the past. And like, her ability to intervene and help me stop that negative self-perception. Now, I was already doing my work to stop like putting fuel on the fire,
Right.
but that teamwork we had bonded us and strengthened the attachment between us and helped us grow stronger as a couple. And so I think that is how this research is manifest in real time.
Oh, I love that story. I love it. And I appreciate your vulnerability in sharing it, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is such a good example. And it's a good example of what it does take to not perpetuate the negative self-perception. I'm passionate about this because for so long I've seen people suffering unnecessarily. And I one thing about me is I just have positive regard for most people. I just love people,
Yeah.
and I see good in them. And
Yeah.
so I see all this good in all my clients, and they're like, well, I relapsed and so I'm bad, or they're hiding, they're living in their shame screens. And I'm just like, if you could see you the way that I see you, if you
Yeah.
knew how lovable you are, how good you are, you'd realize that yes, you're screwing up, you're making mistakes, but I want to put my arms around you and tell you you're good. You're good enough,
Yeah.
And I can't do that unless you open up and allow others to do that for you. And
Absolutely.
right. So I love that story, Alex. That's awesome.
Yeah, and,
Um,
and what you said just actually helped. There's one last thing I want to add to the story. When you say drop our shame screens, right? Had in that moment I had gone into deep shame, I wouldn't have been available for my wife. As you shared, I remember turning and talking to her. I'm doing, after we checked in with kind of my levels and my triggers and worked in with that. I turned around and was like, "And how are you? Right? Your husband just saw a pornographic image of
Empathy,
another woman."
compassion back to her. Yes,
Yeah. And if I was locked in my negative self perceptions,
that's impossible.
it's very hard. Yeah, it's very hard to break down those walls and step into somebody else's shoes in an authentic way,
Yep.
in a safe way, in a way that feels secure and um, unfettered,
Yep.
right? And
That
so I think because of that, was there pornography use? Use is probably the wrong word, right? I stumbled into it, but
sure.
but that it was in our marriage. It happened, right? I looked at a naked woman in my
Right.
marriage that was not my wife, right? Like that
Sure.
happened, and I think that being able to, and I should say naked women that was trying to be sexual, right? Because like
Yes.
I recognize there's probably OBGYNs or doctors or people
Right.
see naked women all the time in completely appropriate settings, but
Right.
there's
It was
uh,
pornographic.
it's a pornographic image, right? And I
Yes.
think that for me, I wanted to help my wife know that I was still true to her in both thought and and my eyes are true to her, my heart is true to her,
Right.
right? And the way that I can show that is by leaning into her experience, and the negative self-perception I think gets in the way of that.
That
Now, this research doesn't speak to that directly, but I'm just speaking as a clinician now, just seeing the process play out. And
no
like you,
question.
yeah, like you mentioned it, I
You,
think it just totally destroys that ability
I
to.
just think of
Yeah.
the 16 or 17-year-old you, Alex, that is just wallowing in loneliness.
Oh yeah,
In that, talk about negative self-perception, just wallowing in that and feeling that and wanting to run, just wanting an escape from that,
yeah,
compared to and then you were stuck in fear and
yeah,
shame. And as a man, because you've been a courageous man who's done so much of your own work, something that could have ended that way actually ended in connection to yourself. You
right,
built trust with your wife. But the key to it all was your courage enough to step up in that moment and own what was. And that's what made all the difference. So I
thank
love
you.
it, Alex.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. And I share that with the hopes that I think I think humans need templates. Right? We're creative and we naturally create ideas and solutions, and we love that. But when we have a template or a principle to apply in a situation, I'm hopeful that this research and my experience in our podcast today can help some person understand a little better how to maybe approach their relapse, or how to
Yep.
approach their partner's relapse, or how to approach their client's relapse. I think when I step back in the room with a client that's really struggling with this, some questions I might ask are, where did you learn to think this way about yourself? And unpack that story. It's probably
Yep.
connected to some childhood experiences with family or friends or God that is significantly changed the way they view themselves, and that associate that with their behavior.
Yep.
I might also look at how to change those beliefs and what experiences have challenged those beliefs.
Yep.
What experiences can they call on to remember in a moment of need when that negative self-perception starts to get so loud.
Yep.
Right.
That's where I put a lot, like I use EMDR a lot for that.
Oh
I
yeah.
bring the EMDR to shift the beliefs they have around the experiences that the beliefs they have around themselves, around their experiences. And it seems to work really well.
Yeah, absolutely. And EMDR does this, right? And part of like stage one is the history taking.
Yeah.
Understanding the history of these experiences is key to processing the emotional experience in the now. And I really think that there's some wisdom in that approach. And I love EMDR, and I've been a client of EMDR. I've also used it as a clinician, and I see it work really well. Yeah.
As well as, EMDR, another thing is group therapy, where, I was talking to Tyler 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about overcoming your shame, and he was sharing how when he has a man who has all these secrets and he stands up and shares his sexual history to a group, how he's thinking everybody's going to judge him and reject him, and everybody shows up in love, and it just breaks down all of that negative self-perception. It starts to kill it. Because their experience is much different than what they thought was going to happen when they opened up. And, and so Alex, we could go on and on and on. You have to promise me you'll come back on again.
I promise. I'm happy to help.
Every time you do a research study, I want to break it down with you on my podcast.
Okay. All right. I'm happy to do it. That's actually one of my passions. Sadly, the way that research is structured, a lot of the research gets stuck in these ivory tower academic libraries.
Published. Yeah. Nobody really knows they exist.
Yeah, they're extremely expensive to access. And then once you access them, if you have the money to access them, they're written in such, and I'm probably going to get slammed for this by somebody, but they're written in such, I would say, like inaccessible language.
Yes.
That it's so hard for the average person that's not trained in statistics or not trained in philosophy or theoretical thinking to like make sense of any of this.
To digest it and use it.
Yeah. And so thank you for the opportunity to give me a chance to break down some of that training I have in simpler terms, so that the average person that maybe has training in a different area or educate, like if someone were to talk to me about financial stuff or stocks, like I'm an average dude that doesn't understand stocks. I'm not a broker, or I'm an average guy that doesn't understand medical language. Right. But the training I have with behavioral sciences and psychology and theory and stats, it's going to automatically turn people away. And I hope that if we have mediums like the ones you're providing, some of this research that's so valuable to the healing process can hopefully trickle down to these audiences that need it. Right. And they can digest it in a way that's sensible, that's applicable, and hopefully inspiring.
Well, Alex, the reason why you're so powerful and why you're going to get tired of me hitting you up every 2 months to come on my show is you bring that research side, but you also bring your own personal experience of recovery, as well as the clinician in you who has treated, you've done hours and hours of therapy. So you have every angle. You've been in the trenches on your own. You've been in the trenches with other people. And now on a higher level, you're trying to get answers for us. So I really appreciate it. And I support you all the way, what you're doing. Yeah. So
well, I'm happy to support you too, Brandon. I'm right behind you. So
awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
You guys, if you liked this episode, then please share it. I think the things that we talked about today are critical for anybody who's struggling with compulsive behaviors, addictions, or whatever you want to call it. Please share it. If this can be just a little piece of a catalyst to get somebody out of their shame or out of their negative self-perception, then please share it. And please rate and review the podcast. Have a great day, you guys. We'll see you later.